Session. We ask that you turn off or silence all cell phones. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 6 p.m. and at midnight, and also available for viewing on YouTube. We have 6 items on tonight's study session, and the first item on the agenda is the Leavenworth Unified School District number 453 quarterly update. Superintendent Mr. Adams, welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening.
How are you guys doing tonight?
Doing great.
My name's Kellen. Thank you so much for having me here tonight. I'm going to briefly go over what's in front of you. Thank you to Mrs. Bodensteiner for passing those materials out. I'll just give you a quick synopsis of those and then move into my report, if that's all right. And then we can finish up with any questions that you may have. So 2 smaller cards. These are a part of our recruitment efforts from our Human Resources Department. I'm sure you've likely heard of our challenges with regard to both recruitment as well as retention. And so they developed these as they go out to teacher fairs and some of the other hiring that we're doing across really the state and now the region as we're traveling to multiple states. And so as you can see, they attempt to capture some of the highlights on the back for both of those pieces. So first is obviously our students, and then the second one is our community. So I'll leave you with those. The one piece I would say is if you know of other places that those should be going, please notify me, notify our office. We'd be happy to print more for you and make those available for you. So now to the full-size sheets here, the first of which is from Leavenworth High School, our flagship school. And as you can see there at the very bottom right corner, we are certainly proud of the fact that we're the first high school in the state of Kansas. And as Mr. Vanek says frequently, we are first in all that we do. So they have captured some of the highlights there, specifically with regard to academics, as well as our various sports, practical arts, and then finally leadership opportunities. The second page then for you is our emphasis on mental health. I'm sure you likely have heard that that is certainly a concern within the K-12 environment. And so several of the things that we have going on there that I believe are very positive for this community, but includes everything from the collaboration with the Guidance Center to obviously our various things such as the mobile app and some of those other pieces that we have put in place that I believe are really an all-encompassing, very comprehensive, what we call wraparound service for our students. So again, just want to bring awareness to that and have you help with any advocacy you can do there. The final 4 then are somewhat dated in nature. So the first of which is our LHS Senior Information Night. That is coming up here shortly on Monday, September the 25th. And as you can see there, we're going to attempt to inform both parents as well as our seniors of all the various processes in that final capstone year, as we realize there's probably several questions, especially if you're a parent of a first-time senior. And so just want to bring awareness to that. It'll be on the 25th in the LHS auditorium. Next in is just a capture of our home football game, Spirit Nights. This is my first year, obviously, in the community, and I was really, honestly, very impressed with the Military Appreciation Night on week 2. That was great to be a part of that. Jermaine saw you then I think that was last week, if I recall. And then, as you know, homecoming is coming up here shortly. So I'll bring awareness to that here in a little bit. And then we're going to cap it off with our senior night pink out there in the latter part of October. So we'd love to see any and all of you at one of our football games, as well as our other athletic events for that matter. Sunday, October the 1st, will be our car and motorcycle show. So I'm sure you're all well aware of our JROTC program, as well as our automotive technology students. This is really a collaborative effort by both of those programs. So just wanted to bring awareness to that and certainly invite any and all of you out to that program. And then finally, our college and career fair, which is shortly after. It is the first Tuesday in October. And it'll be there at the LHS gyms. And this is, again, a large push for us on really both post-secondary as far as college as well as career readiness. And so, again, the idea being informing folks of everything from post-secondary on a 4-year degree all the way to entering straight into the workforce. So those are just a couple of events coming up. I'll pause there for any questions. I'm moving fast because I understand you got a lot of other important work to do, so I don't want to move too fast, but at the same time, I'm going to keep going if there aren't any questions. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate the update. How many guidance counselors do we currently have within the school district?
Within the district,
yes, sir.
I believe you'd be looking at 4 at the high school, 4 at the middle school, and then I believe it would be 1 at each of our elementaries. So as you're well aware, we have really community elementaries, right? So a total of 4, 1 per building, if that makes sense.
Okay, yes, sir.
Yep. What I cannot tell you is where we are with regard to staffing from a year-to-year basis, but it's my understanding we are staffed for all counselors currently. So, does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yeah. Any other question?
Yeah, just one, where is the automotive technology? Where do those students take their classes? Where do they learn about automotive technology?
Yep, so it is attached to the high school. So you've probably been to our building, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you walk through what I call the JV gym or auxiliary gym, you would walk through there, and then there's a hallway that connects you to that automotive lab. So you
Yeah.
never actually step outside.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It's on the north end of the school.
Correct, yep.
Yeah.
Still getting to learn the buildings, as you can imagine, so.
Yes, sir.
Good. Thank
Do
you.
they do that every year, the show, the car show?
It's my understanding, yes,
I
yep,
never saw
Yep.
that before. Okay, interesting.
yep. So with that, I'm going to lead into kind of the 5 final pieces of my report. The first today that was certainly a great opportunity to be a part of is what's known as Pride Patrol. So if you haven't had an opportunity, I think it's on Facebook for you to look at, but our community foundation is absolutely phenomenal here. So just a couple highlights. We gave out 32 grant awards, and just over $55,000 were awarded directly back to classroom teachers today. So I saw an amazing outpouring of support from community members, our foundation board, et cetera. We had the drum line, or I should say a portion of the drum line, and the senior cheerleaders that made an entrance into each one of those classrooms this morning, welcomed and obviously congratulated the teachers, presented the checks, that are about the size of this table, right? So it was a lot of fun things to see this morning. So the other point to capture here is that each year our foundation raises over $160,000. So that is private philanthropy going right back into classrooms. Those are not tax dollars, rather that is donations entirely, and very, very big support for our school district. So a big shout out to every donor, whether it's $1 or $1,000. Really appreciate what they're doing for our community and specifically for our students. Item number 2 is our strategic plan. We are entering into the next stage of really what is Strategic Plan 2.0. And so currently, up until September 23rd, we're inviting people to be a part of that input process. We have what we believe is a very easy way to join through just really a simple survey. It can be done anywhere from a phone, an iPad, et cetera. So that website is simply tejoin.com. That's tejoin.com. And then you'll enter the code 690-084-297.
Would you repeat that again?
Yep, 690-084-297. This is with a software that is extremely sophisticated, that allows you the opportunity to not only input your thoughts, but then also go back and rate the thoughts of other people that have entered prior to you. And then through algorithms, they will develop what are some of the central themes, right? So it is an extremely powerful tool that is used in environments such as this across communities across the United States. So I want to invite people, if they haven't had the opportunity, to participate in that. And I wanted to capture the 5 major strands that we're looking at. So strand 1 is teaching and learning, or academic programs. Strand 2 is student engagement and support services. Strand 3 is staffing and personnel. Strand 4 is finance and operations, and finally, family and community involvement. So again, that's going to be open until Saturday, September the 23rd, and that will usher in then the next steps for us as we move forward with our Board of Education and finalize that plan. Item number 3 for you, as I mentioned earlier, is homecoming week is coming up shortly. So September the 29th is the date of the game. 7 o'clock p.m. is the kickoff, and if I'm not mistaken, the Baser Bobcats come to town for our Week 5 contest. So I just want to give a big shout out to the police department for their continued collaboration and support. Shutting down an entire town of 37,000 people so that you can have a temporary 2 o'clock in the afternoon parade is no small task. And so just want to give a big shout out to Chief Kitchens as well as his officers, because I do realize that it's probably the last thing they want to be doing on a Friday afternoon, but also their appreciation for what we're trying to accomplish there with regard to school spirit and community spirit. So thank you to all of our officers for that. And again, a big invitation to join us for Friday Night Lights if you haven't already. And then just finally, as I close here, a couple of challenges that we're working through with regard to our school year. First is safety and security. and what we're doing there. I trust that I don't need to tell you the importance of school safety and school security in today's day and age. So here, actually, it started really last week. All of our staff members will now be given a GPS-enabled alert badge that they'll wear around their chest every single day. And so again, a big shout out to our police department for their help and coordination here. But as you know, we have crisis situations that are occurring in our classrooms, in our hallways, et cetera, and response time is extremely important. This is everything from that very small fight to a student that has had a seizure. And so this allows our staff, within the quick tap of a badge, to hit the button a couple times, and it will give us the exact location of that issue and allow first responders or the building administration to be able to come directly to that issue and hopefully reduce this response time as well as help to address whatever that issue is. So it's a big rollout. As you know, we have 300 some certified staff, over 600 staff in 7 attendance centers. So that doesn't get rolled out within just a couple days and takes a lot of professional development, coordination, and otherwise. But again, just want to give a shout out to law enforcement for their piece of that, as they have certainly had a good supporting role for us in that integration. So, and then finally, my last thing to bring to your attention, as we talked about, is our staffing challenges. So you've likely heard we did not fill all vacancies to start the year. So just for context, approximately 30 of our classrooms did not have a certified teacher to start the year. And so that meant either a long-term substitute or some other individual to take that place. We're certainly at a national teacher shortage, but that has also extended beyond just the teacher ranks to classified and so forth. So this is a chance for me to just say, if you are wanting to be a part of that solution, please let us know. We're looking for everything from long-term substitutes to daily call substitutes, as well as certainly volunteers. So
Nancy has a calling to be a teacher.
excellent. I'll talk to Nancy after the meeting. And just in closing, I just want to say thank you to Mr. Kramer. Anytime you move to a new community, it's a challenge, especially in roles like this. But hats off to Paul. He has been great in helping me interface here and feel very welcome. So you have a good leader at the helm here for the city.
We're glad you're here.
I would stand for any questions if you have any.
Any questions? If not, I just want to say thank you for selecting Leavenworth as your home, and the teachers love you. You did a great job connecting with the teachers early on, meeting with them, and I've heard nothing but great things. So I appreciate you for making Leavenworth your home as well.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you mentioned that safety is one of the challenges you have. Can you give us an idea of how many fights involving more than, say, 2 or 3 kids you've had in any of the schools?
Sure. I don't have any data in front of me, obviously, but for anecdotal, we probably have at least one type of altercation in a building every day in this district. Sometimes it may be just one student that has become elevated and needs to have the chance to de-escalate. Sometimes it is that traditional person-on-person fight, but I would say at least one per day of some type of situation that would necessitate immediate response from administration. Sorry, I don't have more data in front of me, Mr. Angela.
No, that's okay. Ed, can you tell me how many folks have you got that are trained to deal with that de-escalating?
Sure, good question. So this is a spot that I think has unfortunately not had enough good light shown on it. We have an amazing special education staff and an amazing support services staff. That is not always the case in districts like this. So I'm very proud of our folks, whether that be a registered behavior technician or some of the counselors that you mentioned, as well as some of the folks that I would consider to be either on the crisis intervention team or the mental health team. So in round numbers, Mr. Hengula, I'm going to say that we have between 3 and 4 people at every building that are in some way certified or prepared to handle those situations. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Some buildings probably honestly have more than that.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Well, thank you, Mr. Adams.
Thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Item number 2, Ms. Beth, update from the St. Vincent Clinic. Ms. Beth will be giving us a presentation.
Good evening.
Everyone. Okay, so first I just want to say thank you, Mayor Wilson, City Commissioner, City Manager, and Sarah for inviting me to have a seat at your table tonight. The first thing I would like to do is introduce some of my team members. Michelle Serber, who is our Executive Director of Caritas Clinic, Teresa Watson, who is the Director of Operations, and Christina Harsh, who is our Marketing Director. So you might notice I have a Boston accent, so that's marketing. So first, this is our first time at St. Vincent Clinic being able to do a presentation. I've done several throughout the city. I think I've seen some of you at them, but I always like to start with a little bit of history. We've been here since 1986, when Sister Rosalie Mahoney of the Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth recognized the need for more accessible health care to our lower income residents in the city. In 1989, they recognized this need in Wyandotte County as well, and they opened Duchesne Clinic. And then a few years later, we kind of joined services with Duchesne Clinic and became sister clinics known as Caritas Clinics. So that's why you hear us calling ourselves Caritas Clinics. And then just a few years ago, Michelle Serber came in as our executive director, and I think one of her first initiatives was to bring on a third clinic, being Marion Clinic in Topeka. So the three clinics comprise Caritas Clinics, and we are all what we call safety net clinics. And we are basically, what a safety net clinic is that we provide services to patients who have nowhere else to go, hence the term safety net. So we provide services to patients who lack insurance coverage or income. And we are the nonprofit leg of Intermountain Health, which was formerly SCL Health, but we have now merged with them. And we maintain our faith-based values and identity here in Kansas, which is the legacy of the Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth. Our mission is just collectively to make our community healthier by improving the health of the individuals that we serve. And we want to say that just because we are a safety net clinic, we don't compromise our standards. So it's not just providing health care, it's providing excellent health care. And we have some of the best, let me tell you. We don't turn anyone away, regardless of their ability to pay for services. We are not a free clinic, which a lot of people think we are, but we won't turn anyone away if they don't have the ability to pay. We are in the process right now of revising a sliding fee scale based on the federal poverty level guidelines. Another one of Michelle's initiatives as executive director was to grow our ability to see more patients with insurance. So just recently, St. Vincent is piloting this with taking on Medicaid, Medicare, and most recently, Ambetter insurance. Duchesne Clinic still doesn't take insurance, but we do. And just to give you an idea of how much that has grown, we have gone in just a little bit over a year. We've gone from seeing about 10 patients with Medicaid and Medicare to this month 131. So that's huge. And it kind of just shows like how our numbers are just continuing to grow. Speaking of growing, growth has kind of been my buzzword since I took over as manager, which I took over just on the outskirts of the COVID pandemic. When I came in, we had just a skeleton crew remaining there, just maybe a handful of employees. And so growth and change has kind of been my mantra. First, we've grown our staff tremendously to where we are now, and I know I gave Jermaine a tour not too long ago, where we were just occupying basically the lower level of the building to where we now have every single room filled as office space, and some days we don't have enough office space for all the people that are there. Our monthly staff meetings, we can barely accommodate everybody in our conference room. So that's one way that we've grown. And of course, as we grow our staff, we're seeing more patients a week. When I started, we had one part-time provider. We were able to be open to see patients 3 days a week only. The wait for patients to come in when they qualified was sometimes up to a month before they could get in, because we are not a walk-in clinic. but I'm happy to say that we now have 4 different providers. We are open 5 days a week. And although we are not a walk-in clinic, we do provide walk-in services to those who need it most, because we have, since December, a new medical director on site every day, Dr. Riley, and she is able to be that gap provider. So if somebody comes in, we are able to see them almost right away and get them on our schedule. So that's really our most significant growth area. What else? Another position that I kind of wanted to touch upon that we've created since I've been there is the addition of a patient care coordinator. This is, it was originally a grant-funded position, and we kind of had to invent this position on what we wanted it to look like. And my vision, because I have a social work background, was to create this position so that every patient that is coming in, we're establishing trust at the get-go. So Amy Beth will sit down. She'll sit down with every patient who wants to. She'll go over the paperwork with them, because we understand that a lot of our patients have barriers with filling out. You know, they go to these social service agencies and they're handed these massive applications, and most likely they're not going to come back. It's just too hard to fill them out. It's intimidating. So it was important to me to have that access point where Amy Beth could sit down with every single patient, go over the paperwork, assess their social determinants of health, see what kind of barriers are in their life and how we might be able to help remove those barriers, so that whether it's food insecurity or employment issues or any kind of housing issues, that we can refer them to another agency such as Catholic Charities in town to get that help they need. If transportation, now we have, thanks in large part to Nancy's work, we have the transportation system, but Amy Beth still helps our patients with that, because we do have a lot of patients who don't have transportation. So we work directly with the ride, is it Leavenworth ride? I always get it backwards. And she coordinates those transportation with them so they can come to their appointments. And we actually, if they can't afford to pay for it, we do have a patient care fund where we can help pay for that transportation. We also work with transportation with the Guidance Center and the Council of Aging, so that when we have patients that do have appointments that take them farther away than Leavenworth, we can also help coordinate that as well. So that's some of the great things that Amy Beth is doing. Let me tell you, she is busy every day. Yeah, and she's also, another piece of her job is to get out there in the community and go to all those great meetings and help us network, because we understand that that's how Leavenworth works. Unlike our sister clinics that are from larger counties that have more resources, we understand that Leavenworth is special. We're very old-fashioned in the sense that everything is word of mouth. And Amy Beth puts the work in. She goes and she makes these community connections for us. And as a result of that, we have, grown tremendously, and we've become a lot stronger. So let's see what else we've added. We have an operational lab where we do all of our venipunctures and blood draws there. We partner with St. John Hospital for imaging and radiology needs. They've been super helpful with that. In April, this was a huge goal of ours, and we finally saw it to fruition in April when we hired Sylvia Goodlow. She's a licensed clinical social worker, and she provides behavioral health 2 days a week to our patients. We also partner with the Guidance Center for this, but just for our patients who have needs right away, sometimes it's really difficult to get into the Guidance Center. This is a way for our patients to come in, see a provider, and right away go up and talk to Sylvia for those needs. We also hired a pharmacist this year and our very first pharmacy coordinator on site. So our hope is to build that. Our pharmacist is between both clinics. We do whatever we can, because we understand that one of the greatest expenses to our patients is the medication. So we have several ways that we can help them get medications that they need. One of them is through our PAT program, which stands for Pharmacy Assistance Program. And through that, we are able to help our patients submit applications to big pharma names. We're talking like big insulin names like Trulicity and things like that. And I think probably have given our patients about $1 million worth of medications for free through this program in the past year. So that's one way that we help them. We also have sample medications in our medication room, so we're able to provide some of those through different programs that we work with for our uninsured patients that need meds. But I do want to add that we do not provide controlled substances, so we are not an access point for that in our clinic. So like the really strong painkillers and stuff, we have to kind of get creative and help them manage their pain in other ways, because that is one area that, we have kind of stayed away from for reasons of safety. One way that we can help them navigate their pain is through physical therapy. We have a partnership with the University of St. Mary, where we call him Dr. Phil Kilmer. He comes in with a cohort of students every semester, and twice they'll see patients and give them free physical therapy. So this is wonderful. This is something you can't find anywhere else, even if Medicaid is your primary. Try finding a physical therapist in town that will take that. So it's one way that we can help our patients get physical therapy. And we also have Dr. Angie Samuelson, who is from Cleveland University, and she comes in with interns every week, and she's going to start doing this twice a week because it's become so popular with chiropractor needs. So she's able to help our patients manage their pain through chiropractor. Now, these are all volunteers, and if you've ever come to our clinic, and we could show you the basement where all of the equipment has been donated through these universities. And it's such a great partnership because it's so mutually beneficial, because not only are these students getting hands-on experience with our patients, but our patients are getting services that they would otherwise never be able to afford. So those are two great volunteer services. And we're hoping to bring on occupational therapy. That's a new program over at University of St. Mary's, and I believe they're in their second cohort now. And we do have one of the students coming on this spring to start with their capstone project with us. So those partnerships have been extremely valuable for us. So in addition to those partnerships, I just want to give a shout out to Atchison Community Health Clinic, because they're a federally qualified health clinic in Atchison, and thanks to them, we are able to get our patients dental care, and that has been one of that was probably the #1 rated gap service when I started, was just people having no place to go for dental. Where we were partnering with some local dentists, COVID kind of put an end to that for obvious reasons. We just had less dental services, and they were so booked up that they weren't taking referrals anymore. So we have partnered with ACHC in Atchison, and thanks to the Guidance Center, we can get our patients there if we need to provide transportation. And using KDHE funding, we're able to provide dental care to our patients now.
That's great.
That's good.
Yeah. Another great partnership we have is with the Family Eye Care Center in Leavenworth, and thanks to the Lions, and we've been doing this partnership for about 10 years, we can send our patients there for optometry referrals. So our patients are getting eye exams, they're getting eyeglasses, and they're able to see, which it's such a great thing. I mean, I know I have my contacts, I don't know what I would do without them, but these are things that people would not be able to afford, but thanks to the Lions and Family Eye Care Center that works with us, they're so easy to work with, and they understand our patients, and they're so kind. We are able to provide that service as well. And
Lions has been there for 30 years.
Yeah, they're wonderful. Yeah, so the Lions, the Kiwanis, they do over-the-counter drives for us. So there's just so many clubs and groups in Leavenworth that do support us. Besides the Ride LV, we have, like I mentioned, we partner with the Guidance Center and Council of Aging for transportation needs. And those needs might be those far out of Leavenworth. For example, we might have a patient that needs to go to KU for a specialist or something like that. And in those cases, we can call on the Guidance Center or the Council on Aging and get our patients to those organizations as well. One of the partnerships I really want to highlight today is our partnership with the Interfaith Community of Hope. Miranda has been wonderful. We almost feel like one big family. That's how closely we work together. So many of her visitors at the shelter come to us as patients. And just recently, we started doing a clinic medical outreach over there twice a month. So Amy Beth will go there, and Dr. Riley, our medical director, and she will actually see patients just very briefly, and we'll get them to come to the clinic because we realize that, number one, not only do they not know that we exist, but a lot of them have serious trust issues with medical facilities. So this is one way to break down those barriers and get them to know that we care and we want them to come. And once they make that initial meeting over at the Shelter of Hope, they're more likely to come to us for their medical care. So I think like last month, we qualified 30 patients that we met through that outreach that otherwise had nowhere to go. And I thought this was just amazing. We also did our first flu shot clinic over there this month, which we'll have a few more. So this is a great partnership where we are able, that allows us to reach the people that we really need to reach. In addition to that, we also work with other agencies, of course, the Alliance Against Family Violence, Catholic Charities, Voc Rehab, the Grossman Center. These are all places that primarily Amy Beth has made connections with, so that if we get our name out there, they know we're here, and we can get to more people that need our help. So these are some of the good things that we're doing over at St. Vincent Clinic. But I think some of the best things are just the team that we have. We have a team of compassionate, committed caregivers who, everybody who works at St. Vincent is there for the same reason. It's because they have a heart for the mission and they have a passion for this. And I think that's apparent when you walk through our front door. It's a very special place. It's a very special place to be. It inspires me every day. Our patients inspire me every day. I mean, a lot of people are very hardworking individuals who are fighting to put food on their table, and they're trying to pay their basic living expenses, and they often have to decide between buying a medication or paying a water bill, for example. So, you know, it gives me a good dose of perspective and humility working there, and it gives me meaning. It gives me a meaningful sense of purpose every day, just being around both the staff and the patients. And, you know, trauma-informed care, that's one of, my husband was retired from the military after 32 years. So we went through a lot of trauma in those communities, those military communities, 9 deployments. And so I got into resilience in trauma-informed care as a military spouse, and I've carried that into this role at St. Vincent Clinic. And I strive every day to make sure that we provide a trauma-informed environment for our patients and for our staff. And I just wanted to say that what started out as a mobile health care van driving around Leavenworth in the 80s is now a thriving clinic on the corner of 7th and Dakota. And I would invite anyone to come and take a tour. I love to give tours. I love to show you the good things that we're doing. I'm excited about some of the services we're hopeful for in the future. For example, maybe expanding to take care of children. And so the door is always open. We want to get out there into the community. We want to reach the people who need us and make sure that everybody knows that when they feel like they have nowhere else to go, they do have us. So healthcare is a basic human right, and we not only provide healthcare, like I said, we provide quality healthcare and compassion. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share that with you tonight. I'm very excited to be here and share our story.
I definitely want to say thank you, and to your staff members. You all are truly making a difference inside of our community. You're meeting the people where they're at, and you're not only just providing good services, those quality services, and thank you so much. And I encourage you all, if you have not toured the clinic, please go and visit
Definitely.
it. It is immaculate, it is clean. You all just provide some great customer service. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Question,
Yes.
what time of day is the best time to come and get a tour? Because you're busy sometimes, more
yes.
so than others.
Well, if you
Make an appointment.
you
Here
can
to
call
any
me,
doctor's office.
give me a call, or shoot me an email, and I will set something up. And any time that works for you, I'll be there.
Okay.
It's very responsive.
Oh, I had another question. Yeah.
Yes.
The Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth still oversee your operation?
We do have, it's a complicated, we have 11 board, and Michelle might want to speak to that. But we used to be, Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth formed into a bigger healthcare system, and they recently merged with Intermountain Healthcare. We're the nonprofit leg of that, and we do have a governing Levin board. But Michelle, if you want to speak to that a little bit more.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I guess I'll come join you.
Yeah.
Thank you for that question. Yes, we were founded by the Sisters of Charity of Leavenworth. It merged into a larger healthcare agency called SCL. The sisters themselves were not over SCL Health. They're headquartered in Denver, but we're still affiliated. That's where our history is, that's where our legacy is. And they do have the Sisters of Charity Levin Ministries board over that Catholic arm of SCL. With the merge with Intermountain, that arm, that Catholic arm still exists, and Levin Ministries is still our direct board. We do have a local board, but our governing board is still the Levin Ministries board. So we still hang out at the Mother House as often as we possibly can. And we have the sisters that still volunteer at the clinics, and they walk the halls. And so, but our funder right now is Intermountain Health.
Thank you.
So thank you for that question. I know it's confusing.
Any other questions?
Questions, comments?
Well, thank you for coming.
Thank
you for giving us an update. I'll have to come over again.
Yes.
You've really expanded a lot. I'm glad to see you have a lab. I was the first volunteer, and my job was to set up the lab
Yeah.
at St. Vincent when it first opened in '85. And then later on, I guess the lab closed down, but I know St. John's for a while was not providing services, and I'm very glad that they are back to doing that again. That's people can't go to work if they're sick.
Yep.
So we're really glad that you're here and that you're doing so well.
Very true. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Have a good one. Item number 3 on the agenda, City Hall 100th Anniversary Discussion.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, this is just the very start of the conversation. 2024 marks the 100th anniversary of the opening of City Hall, the People's Building here in the city of Leavenworth. And so staff is looking just for an initial discussion with the governing body about how best to celebrate the anniversary. To get the conversation started, I just threw a few things out here in the policy report. We probably need some sort of group, whether that's city staff committee, add some community stakeholders, if the commission wants to appoint a representative or two, to start working with a group to consider the best way to mark the anniversary. Other items, type and quantity of events. Do we want one large event, a series of smaller events, a tour? Obviously, we're going to have an open house for people to come in and tour. The building's open now, but at that point, you'd like people to be able to give tours and stuff like that. This doesn't have to be anything of significant cost. This can just be the community enjoying the building and the history of the building. But I just wanted to, we don't have to make any decisions tonight, and it seems somewhat trivial, but at the same time, it is a big deal, and we need to start planning if we're going to do something next year.
What is the
Go ahead.
What is the date of the anniversary?
That's a good question. So there's some different dates. There's the date that the bond passed. There's a date that they broke ground. There's the date that the first day of work. So that would be part of it, is putting together
Okay.
a timeline.
Broke ground.
And so
Yeah.
we've done some
date that
initial
you moved
digging
in.
on some of those. We have how it passed the ballot, the funding for it. We have a lot of that information. So
Okay.
it'll be part of it for sure.
Do you have anybody that know the history of what we did, like on the 50th anniversary or the 75th anniversary?
I don't know the answer to
Okay.
that. Yeah, and these are the types of questions that I was hoping for tonight. And
Okay.
we'll come back to you.
I got you. No
and
problem.
feedback. So yeah, those type of questions we can certainly look into.
Yeah, I think the history is important.
Yeah.
If you did have tours here, one idea might be to bring people in here, show them the history of the city hall, where the old city hall was, and how it went by the wayside.
Sure.
Make a video. Make a video.
Oh, that could be too, yeah. Something that'll give people a reason to kind of be proud of this structure. and what goes on in here.
Definitely special invitation to past elected officials. I think that'd be good, just to have them to attend as well.
Some sort of, besides the tour, some sort of event.
Yeah.
To have some, okay. And feel free to email me ideas, send them to me. Again, we're not gonna make anything tonight.
That's cool.
I don't think we need to put together like a task force or anything, but.
agenda.
No, I just,
these things are important.
I like it when you guys bring ideas too, and
Yeah.
I'm always game to see, kind of like what you guys have done even is all this year, just various different things, so I'm always open for ideas and, you know.
Yeah, these are, I mean, we've been speaking for a minute and we already have some good ideas. So
Yeah.
as you think of stuff, if you think of just neat ideas, we'll throw them all into sort of and come up with a draft, maybe of a calendar and that kind of stuff.
Get the department heads involved also, especially if we do something like a video, you know, get them involved in, you know, here's what my department has been before and who's been in charge and how they've operated, and here's what we do now, that sort of thing.
We have a VHS tape of somebody did a tour of the building before the renovation, and it's remarkable how different the building
you
was.
serious?
25
That's
years
neat.
ago, 20 years
That's
ago.
That would be
neat.
great to see,
Run those on some of these, okay.
a VHS tape.
VHS tape, we probably need to get that on some sort of more sustainable medium.
I was gonna say, do you still have something that you can play that on?
I think we do.
Look, Chief, like, yeah, we
Chief's
do.
got one, so. Yeah, just keep the ideas coming. If you hear from the public, if you hear ideas that your constituents believe they'd like to explore the building or the history of the building, just please send them our way and we'll start gathering a staff together and get some ideas to you.
All right. Appreciate it,
All right.
Paul.
Anything
Yep.
else? Okay,
Thank
appreciate it.
Item number 4, future trail development discussions. Parks.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Commission, this will be the second year of the trails allocation, and it seems early. The funding's not available until '24 for that, but the park staff starts working on that early. We had some good bid numbers last year by getting this out really early, so I'm gonna turn it over to Brian Bailey, our Deputy Director of Parks and Recreation, to look at some options.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Commission. I'm bringing before you a discussion of recreational trail development. During the 2023 budget and CIP discussions, the commission dedicated $45,000 for trail improvements for 2024. First off, we started a couple years ago with the trails at Havens Park. We brought to the commission a few ideas on where we should put trails. And the first year we did a good section of trails. I think we did about 700 feet of asphalt trails. And then the following year, which was this year, 2023, we did close to 1,200 feet of trails. Along with those trails, we added benches, pads, and then we've had some donations for benches to put on those as well. So that's been nice to have out there at Havens Park. The first location I'd like to talk about is 10th Avenue Park. We currently have a nice trail that runs along the creek bed there at 10th Avenue Park and behind the football field. It's a very heavily used trail. The one downside to this area is we don't have a trail or access to the trail from the parking lot. You have to walk all the way around using sidewalks to get down to the creek to visit the trail down there. There's some nice benches down there as well. So if you see the dotted red line there, we propose to put a trail connecting the large parking lot to the existing trail that will connect you down to the creek. If you go by there currently, you'll see kind of where foot traffic cuts across through the park to go down through there. So we feel that this would be a great spot to connect the trail to the parking lot, and then go from there with maybe some trail repairs that already exist along that existing trail. So this is kind of our number one location that we would like to go with as far as staff. Our number 2 location is connecting 3 Mile Creek with some more existing trail. This would be done in multiple phases. This would be a good sized trail if we go this route. As you can see right here, where the bridge comes across 3 Mile Creek, we would connect into that and it would kind of make a T. We'd bring the trail up here to the road, which is just across from the Justice Center, and then also bring it down along the railroad tracks. We'd stay obviously far away from the railroad tracks, and it'd bring you in here behind the Leavenworth paper supply. That would probably be a first phase, depending on funding and how much that would cost to do that. The second phase of this would extend on up behind Leavenworth paper supply, and this brings you out to South Esplanade. And so then it would run along the bottom of South Esplanade Hill. This would probably have to be done in multiple phases, and depending on funding for that. So this is kind of our second option that we would eventually go with. But it'd be a good connecting trail and give ample opportunity for people to bike and walk and enjoy resting on a bench. So that's kind of our second choice. Our third choice is to add more trails out at Havens Park. If you look at the orange, that is all trail that is paved. We have numerous mountain bike trails cut throughout the park as well, but all the orange is paved trail. So starting from about right in this area, the first year we came clear to about here with asphalt, and then the second year we went from here all the way out to Shawnee. So that was a good extension of trail. The new phase for this, we would start here at this existing trail and work our way clear over here to 22nd Street. That's a pretty good amount of trail. That would have to be phased out over 2 or 3 years, possibly 4. It would even connect in here to the old go-kart track. We could possibly repave this as well. At this point in time, I wouldn't consider it a trail, the old go-kart area, but we could make a loop around there for people to walk as well.
And we can bring the go-kart trail back.
That's another discussion. Yeah. So this is kind of our third option. Since we just added a bunch of trail out there, we'd like to add trails in some different locations, give people other opportunities across town as well. So with that being said, I'd like to open it up for discussion and see where we'd like to go with trails next.
Well, Commissioner Morton, I know you love trails.
Yeah, I like your first option, Ryan, and kind of this last one there with Havens. Yeah, it's just I think that is a good piece there. I know even just whether it's baseball or soccer, families being out there throughout the year I would never really thought about that, but it's like, oh yeah, that'd actually make a lot more sense. It'd be quick access to nice little area and stuff over there too. So definitely like that. Yeah, it stinks that it costs so much for so little amount, but I guess the benefit could be a good thing. But the Havens area too, I love that area out there, and it's so pretty. I still think it's one of the best kept secrets in town.
It is.
And it's like getting out to Weston, right in your backyard. So I'm a big proponent of that too. Obviously, something phasing that in over multiple years, not knowing how much you could impact every single bit, maybe it would make more sense to get one knocked out and completed. Those are just my thoughts right now, but anybody else thinks? Yeah.
I think 10th Avenue I think it's well used, and having the school right there is close by. I think it has a lot of use right now, and I think that would be real accessible and a lot shorter distance than some of the others.
It would probably get used more immediately, I would think, yeah.
But of course, I like to continue to see Havens
Sure.
transition.
Yep.
A question about the Havens Park proposal. Can we go back to that?
Yep.
The that proposed blue, where you've got the blue line,
Correct.
is there an existing dirt trail there now, or?
So there is, it's a kind of a rough old road bed, that we would follow, kind of like we did with the last year, existing. So we wouldn't have to remove a ton of rock and material.
Sure.
The mountain bikes trails connect into those trails as well. So, yeah, it would be a little bit more, intense than what the other trail was as far as construction goes.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have a good.
Okay,
good
I was just wondering if something was already cut out there. But yeah, I tend to agree with the idea of the one out there at 10th Street Park. You know, it's something we can do, get it done,
Yep.
and then consider others.
Yeah, so I think we have a consensus to move forward with 10th Avenue Park. I'm in favor and support of it as well.
All right, well, thank you.
Thank you as well.
Thanks, Brian.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do we need a quick 5 before we enter into our special meeting?
I'm okay if you guys are.
Okay.
Whatever works for me, so.
You good? All right. Motion to open the special meeting.
So move.
Second?
Motion has been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? None. Motion passed 4-0. We are in our special meeting.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, I'm going to bring up Lana Lanter, our HR Director, and Mike Riley, our insurance broker. Sorry for having to do this in a special meeting. This has been an especially challenging year, and the plan year start is coming up soon, so we needed to get this before you at a special meeting tonight. So I'm going to turn it over to our Human Resources Director, Lana Lanter.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, presented this evening for your review and approval is the benefit plan renewal for our new plan year, which will start on December 1st, 2023. As Paul mentioned, we are kind of in tight time frame. We did have unfortunately, a significant claim year for about the last 12 to 18 months. We've had some significant large claims, which led our initial renewal with United Healthcare to come in at 37.3%. With that number, obviously, we did go to bid. We completed a census, sent that out to all of the main players and even some alternate players in the game. Unfortunately, based on our large claims and our utilization over the last 12 to 24 months, we received one bid for a fully insured plan that came in at 47%, so 10% over the United Healthcare renewal. With that, we move forward with United Healthcare, obviously, and looking at plan design changes and how we can get back down to a more manageable number for our renewal. We have been over the last probably 3 weeks solidly daily in communication between our broker and United Healthcare, doing meetings to do everything we can to still maintain a very competitive insurance, but also to maintain budget-friendly numbers, or at least budget-acceptable numbers that we can get to a point where employees and the city both can continue in the process of very reasonable insurance. With that being said, we finally came to consensus, believe it or not, yesterday with the final plan design changes, which included, unfortunately, removing our buy-up plan, which currently has a $250 deductible, which is, as Mike I'm sure will attest to, is pretty unheard of these days in the market. That's having a $250 deductible plan is obviously a very rich plan that is just not seen. So with the removal of that plan, it kept our base plan and our non-traditional high deductible plan, increased both of those deductibles slightly and the out-of-pocket max slightly on both of those. We had a slight change on the pharmacy plan from a 3-tier to a 4-tier, which impacts only 3 of our members that are covered, and there are alternates to stay under the other 3 tiers, so there is not a significant impact on that. But it did provide for a pretty significant reduction in the premium. It also had a $5 increase to our office visit copays, and it also added an HSA option, which will be new to the city this year, but it does provide for the opportunity for a traditional high deductible with an HSA account, which the positives for that obviously is HSA accounts are...
You're using a lot of acronyms, health savings account.
I'm sorry, health
Is that what
savings
you're talking
account,
about?
yes. Sorry, health savings account, which does provide for the opportunity for employees to fund that account. In essence, it is, yes, a savings account for them. It is their account. If they leave the city, it goes with them. That is primarily used to spend for deductibles, copays, et cetera, that they have under the plan. So we will still have a 3-tier or 3-plan design option for our employees. It will be the base plan, the non-traditional high deductible, and the traditional high deductible with a health savings account. So with all of those changes, we ended up coming in with a renewal at 21.5%. That is obviously, and I will let Paul discuss a little more of the budget impact, but that is obviously above what we budgeted for the year. The good news is the dental and the vision both came in at flat renewals, so no increases to either one of those plans and no plan design changes to those coverages as well. With the changes to the medical, obviously, it is enough of a change from what we currently have in place. It will require all employees to go through the enrollment process and select what coverage they want, starting with the new plan year. So we are pushing forward to try and schedule the open enrollment meetings, which will be mandatory for all employees to participate. So we are tentatively looking at that for mid-October. We will hold those at the community center as we have in the past and have open communication presentations from United Healthcare to explain those changes at the beginning of each of those meetings. Probably 2 or 3 of those sessions per day over the 3 days that we have slotted for open enrollment meetings to catch all of our employees.
So do we have numbers now on what the costs are and the different plans for employees?
Oh, those are 2 different questions. I'm going to talk about the budget plans. Lana, if you want to talk about the costs related to the plan.
Yes. So I am still working on, as I said, we just finalized everything, so I'm still working on developing our normal spreadsheet that we do for our employees that has the city share and the employee share. But we are looking at roughly, just for comparison purposes, the employee-only cost for the base plan this year currently is $1,129. And the new cost for that base plan as of December 1 will go up to $1,383. The high deductible plan, the non-traditional high deductible plan is currently $1,073 for employee-only coverage, and that will go up to $1,300 for employee-only coverage under that new plan.
Okay.
The health savings account, the traditional high deductible plan, and that is a $3,000 deductible that will go to, for employee-only coverage, $1,280. And the city share for employee-only coverage, the city covers 94% of the cost of the base plan, the employee covers 6%.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
So just a couple notes on the budget side, and one thing I'd ask Lana to hit on too is because I think of our relationship with UHC and the nature of the large claims, we are going to have quarterly reviews. And Lana, if you want to talk just briefly about what that could potentially mean.
So we do have a performance funding option, which we had with United Healthcare as well last year. Unfortunately, that is based upon meeting certain performance goals, which we have not met over the last 12 months, but we are hoping moving forward that we can. That provides us the opportunity to do quarterly reviews with United Healthcare and their claims team and their underwriters to look at if we can get to the point where we are under 80% utilization. It gives us the opportunity to look at possible refunds, depending upon what that utilization, and there's a formula that's used obviously to calculate that. But it also gives us the opportunity to look forward and say if we can maintain that track, to look at possible premium reductions, and that would benefit both the city and the employees.
So, Anna, you mentioned, and I appreciate that, you mentioned, stuff that's happened over the last 12, 18, 24 months, whatever. How far out do we have to go? What does the runway look like for United Healthcare before they're like, okay, well, you guys are good again,
That's what
is
these.
it 5 years? Is it 10
Right.
years?
And that's what, and I understand what you're saying. So usually the last 12 months is the primary factor in looking at our renewal rates. And Mike, feel free to jump in if I'm inaccurate or not providing enough. And then they do a look back of the 2 years prior to that. So between the last 3 years is the most significant in our renewal process. That, again, is why we're doing the quarterly updates with them. The performance funding option that they've provided to us this year gives us that opportunity to have that dialogue and looking at quarterly. The last 12 to 18 months was kind of an anomaly and not a normal for us, obviously. But those large claims, as long as they continue and they're still open claims, they still have the possibility of impacting the next 12 months of our usage as well.
Sure, okay. So pretty significant potential rebates is what we could be looking at. Okay, cool, thank you.
And thank you for providing the options, and, yeah, I think the quarterly update is really gonna be helpful. Have we ever done that in the past?
So we have more on an informal basis. These benchmarks have been in place with UHC for the past several years. We just haven't been in a position from a utilization standpoint that we've been hitting those metrics.
Okay.
Again, I would stress Lana's sentiment and Paul's sentiment that the relationship between the city of Leavenworth and UHC has been one of longstanding, 17, 18 years. And there have been wins along the way for both parties. And I will tell you, this tough day, quite frankly, would have come many years ago had we been in a situation where we didn't have and solidify a partner for the city of Leavenworth and your health insurance. Because of that partnership, I can tell you, we have really ebbed and, the premiums have ebbed and flowed down a narrow highway, but we have really managed that well. The staff has managed that well. So that we haven't had these shocking numbers. Unfortunately, right now, it was a bit of a perfect storm where the utilization's high. Our look forward isn't great, recognizing that there are some claims that are still ongoing that are significant. That's what insurance is for, and that's why, everyone is playing in this to a certain extent. Everyone's taking a little bit of a step back in benefit, a little bit more in premium, with the city participating as well. However, I can share with you, based off of knowledge, based off of our hundreds of clients from an employee benefit standpoint, the benefit package that the city of Leavenworth is continuing to offer is still extremely rich from a benefit standpoint. When we look out at the overall marketplace, your benefits are very strong. So even though we've had to make some adjustments, you're still providing a very strong benefit to your employees.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
It's not just strength. We really talked about the flexibility. Hesitate a little bit on stuff like high deductible health savings account based because everybody doesn't need healthcare till they need it, and it's sometimes that's an attractive option. And what kind of education will we, as a leadership team, need to provide to employees to make sure they're fully cognizant of the insurance they're selecting during open enrollment? So that's going to be part of it as we move through this. When you move to these kind of plans that have a little bit more risk, and health savings account is only as valuable as the funding that goes into it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's going to be a component. I did want to just briefly touch on the city budget impact. So we never know when we go through this. We've been actually pretty accurate. We use a plug number of 9% this year. And obviously 21.5 is much larger for that. So you ask, what are you going to do? So there's multiple things we're going to do. First of all, it could be anywhere between 100,000 and 800,000, and that depends on who do we hire, what insurance do they elect. Current employees who drops to a HSA. We did get rid of the buy-up plan. That was 14 employees. So now they will move to the base plan. So there's a lot of variables. So what we'll do is quarterly or monthly, we'll continue to monitor the budget. And if at some point I need to freeze a position for 3 months or freeze a couple non-essential positions, we have the flexibility to do that. And that's what we would do. And we would monitor new employees who's coming on, what packages are they selecting, and that will impact the overall impact on the city budget. So we're very well aware of what the number it is we need to hit, so we'll monitor that through the year. So we get to where we budgeted, which was a 9% increase year over year.
Appreciate that, Paul.
Yeah, thank you, Paul.
Any more questions or comments?
No, not on this side.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve the renewal of the employee benefit plan as outlined by the team here.
Motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Hengler.
Aye.
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 Motion carried 4-0.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think we've been very lucky with insurance, haven't we, over the years?
Right, and
Thanks,
one of the
Mike.
first questions I asked is this a wellness issue? Do we need to get involved more in employee health and wellness? And unfortunately, without giving up, this is very confidential information, is that the claims are not wellness related. Sometimes you just run into a stretch of bad luck, and that's what we've been in the last 12 to 18 months.
Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Ms. Lana. Mr. Riley? Next item on the agenda, item number 6, Resolution B 2346, Countywide Transportation Study Resolution of Support.
Mr. Mayor and Commission, following the August 8th presentation to the City Commission of the final draft of the Countywide Transportation Study, presentations have been made to all the other Leavenworth County cities as well as the LCDC and the Port Authority. Next step in the process, as the parties start to prepare to pursue funding, is to consider the resolution of support. This was the whole reason we did this, so that at the end of the day, we could go to the state, the federal government, the Mid-America Regional Council with one voice as one county to advocate for funding. That's how you get funding in these types of issues. So this support, this resolution has unanimously passed each of the other governing bodies already. We are the final ones. So the county, Basehor, Tonganoxie, Lansing all provided this resolution of support. And the work starts quickly. I'll be at the KDOT local consult meeting October 17th in Lenexa, where we start advocating for state funding for countywide transportation projects. The Mid-America Regional Council is shortly after that, and we start to pursue these. But having the resolution of support from all the entities of the county is really important in pursuing those funding options. So the resolution is before you tonight. You've been presented the report, I think, twice now. And so I would ask if you have any questions. Other than that, I would urge support of that, and we can start pursuing funding for some road transportation projects in the county.
Yep. Appreciate it. Questions or comments?
No?
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve and accept resolution number B 2346 in support of what is it?
Countywide transportation
Yeah, the
study.
countywide transportation plan.
Second.
A motion has been seconded. Begin voting with Commissioner Martin.
Aye.
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 A motion carried 4-0. Motion to close special meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Motion has been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Special meeting is closed. Before we adjourn the meeting, we'd like to turn to our staff for an update regarding the core civic. Just provide us with an update, Commissioners.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and Commission, thank you. I've been asked to provide some perspective or an update on the proposed core civic project that we've heard about from the staff perspective. So we approach this from an operational standpoint about what we would be required to brief the governing body with. And so I have 3 points that I'd like to bring up, and then I also have the police chief here for some of his thoughts. So first of all, I was able to share this information this afternoon with the CEO of Core Civic in person. He came in and met with me, so nothing in this has not been shared with them, and so I'm going to go through some of the concerns that we have. The first of all is the lack of communication and understanding of the project. The city learned about this project on social media and through third-party accounts. The city was not contacted by any of the agencies involved in this agreement ahead of time, even though it is in the city of Leavenworth city limits. Leavenworth Police Department is the responding law enforcement agency, and the Leavenworth Fire Department is the responding fire department. Since then, the city has limited conversations with any of the parties involved, and no communication to this point with the federal government in any way, shape, or form. The city has not been involved in any meetings between the county and Core Civic, even again, though that the city is in the city limits, and the police and fire department are the responsible entities. We have very limited knowledge of the general terms of any agreement, including but not limited to, are there administrative fees outside of property tax payments? If so, what are they? Where do they go? And what would those fees be used for? The duration of the contract, the terms, release restrictions, and we have certainly not seen any language. Everything that we've heard has been verbal. The next area of concern is uncertainty of legal considerations. The city has not had any time to consult with the federal government, city legal staff, state or county legal entities regarding the responsibilities of law enforcement with the population of non-citizens. We just simply haven't had time to go through those items. Finally, my last item is my inability to adequately brief elected officials and residents of the city of Leavenworth because of the items I've mentioned. City staff's first organized call on the topic was this past Friday, September 15th, and the city is in no position right now as a staff to be able to answer questions of the public, as we have not seen anything, only heard items. Based on those factors, and then I'll turn it over to the chief, we certainly cannot be supportive of the project at this time. So I'm going to turn it over to Chief Kitchens.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioner, very briefly, for many, many years since its original inception, the police department has had a memo of understanding with the Core Civic. It used to be CCA, and we had responsibility to respond and deal with whatever events that took place there. I would just share with you, things went generally well for many years. Over the course of the last couple of years of its operation, we started to see some deterioration, and we started to see more activity, more resources being necessary to devote to responding to the facility. We had some operational challenges in our relationship with Core Civic, which caused a little bit of concern for us. Prior to their closing, we were having discussions at my level, at the senior staff level, at the police department about revamping the MOU to more clearly outline roles and responsibilities, what we could do and what Core Civic's responsibilities were going to do. That all became moot when they closed, and so it was not necessary to do that. But we were having those discussions because it had reached a point where it was challenging to us. And then as the events occurred over the course of the last couple of weeks, I expressed my concern about reopening the facility with an entirely different mission or operation with an entirely different population. Just as your police chief, I will speak to a couple of things. I have some questions about jurisdiction. Whose jurisdiction is it? Although it is in the city of Leavenworth, these are not U.S. citizens principally. They are folks that have come here illegally to the United States and been through the adjudication process. That was, some information that we got Friday. Is it the Leavenworth Police Department's responsibility to go out there? Is it a federal law enforcement agency's responsibility to go out there? There's some other different kinds of challenges like language barriers. If we are to absorb this facility back into our responsibilities, are we going to prosecute them at municipal court? Those are questions that I've thought about and been thinking about over the course of these events. I understand that there's some political issue here. This is not a political statement, but I'm savvy enough and not naive to understand that the issue of immigration is a very hot topic in the United States. And my concern would be things like citizen protests. There's a lot of those questions that we've been talking about at the police department. And quite frankly, I don't even know if that's my full list of questions about what needs to be asked and answered before, this endeavor is evaluated. I will just close by saying, whatever decision the policymakers decide, the Leavenworth Police Department stands ready to respond and provide for our public safety. But if we're going to have the conversation and we're going to evaluate that, I think it's fair that we be given a reasonable opportunity to evaluate that. And so when I express my concerns, those are what they are, just sort of initially without a much better understanding of what's happening out there.
And there are additional costs in that, right? So how would that be covered? That's
We just don't
another
know.
question, too.
We don't know what the costs were, what they could be, what the resource requirements would be. There's just a lot of unknowns.
Correct.
We haven't been offered any kind of a proposal or even a look at a proposal that was given to somebody else. Is that correct?
See nothing in writing, sir.
Yeah.
And so I just want to say, based upon the limited amount of information and the concerns that's been expressed by our staff and the update that you all provided with us, I would like to be in favor of moving forward, reaching out to our city manager and having him to reach out to the Board of County Commissioners to show that the city at this time is not in support of this project.
Without any what, I'm sorry?
Consensus? Yeah.
Yes,
Absolutely.
I agree.
And one thing too, Chief, I appreciate the insight you and Paul have provided, even from an administrative standpoint, what that could mean and a lot of the pitfalls that could come with something like that, not knowing. You mentioned your concerns, I don't want to speak for everybody here, but, we definitely have concern too. You mentioned, it'd be used to house detainees that have come over, right, illegally. And I think there could be a lot of concerns if the federal government decided to do a release and they were here and they're here now in Leavenworth County. And I have a lot of concern on that front too. And I think a lot of other folks would as well. And so definitely am in favor of communicating strongly to the county that we are not on board with this. So yes, that's my consensus.
I would just say at this time, because we don't know. We don't know what we don't know.
Yeah.
And it might be, I've heard that, it might be a huge tax advantage to our community, and they would be paying more property taxes and all this other stuff, but right now, we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, all money and good money.
Yeah,
No, not necessarily.
and I don't know that any amount of money would make the risk worth it.
Yeah, that's
We don't
more on
we
that.
don't know what the
They could
risk
wrap
is
it up
yet.
with
We
a
don't-
bow and put bunch of gold on top, and I would not be in favor of it. So that's.
We don't know what we don't
Thank you,
know.
Chief, and thank you, Paul. And I think we have a consensus for you to inform the county and commissioners that the city is not in support of the Core Civic Project at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, before we adjourn the meeting.
Can I ask Penny to say a few things about Camp Leavenworth, just
Oh,
real
yeah,
fast?
I was ready to go around the
Yeah.
table.
Yeah.
Come on up.
You're involved in Camp Leavenworth too. Just a reminder to everyone that this upcoming weekend is Camp Leavenworth. That's Friday from 5 to 9 and Saturday from 11 to 9. The fireworks Friday night, tentatively 8 o'clock at dusk. The 5K run, 10 a.m. Saturday. It is free entry. That was one of the questions we kept getting at the gate last year. It is free entry, so hopefully that encourages everyone to come visit Camp Leavenworth. I will say we are watching the weather situation fairly closely. We're hoping for a shift to some light rain, or that occurs very early in the morning on Saturday before we have our activities. So we will communicate if necessary on the city's Facebook page and the event's Facebook page if there are any changes. A couple quick final highlights. We do have 170 runners signed up for the 5K with volunteer support from the Leavenworth cheerleaders, the Leavenworth High School National Honor Society, and the Lions Club. We also have 20 craft vendors, so that was our goal. We did get 20 local craft vendors in addition to 5 additional craft vendors, so that's very exciting. And we have a local food truck, so Black Belt Barbecue will be joining us for Camp Leavenworth this year. And we do have prizes for the chalk art contest that's going to be done by LV Arts. They will be getting Main Street bucks for the winners of that, the ones that do the chalk art contest, the Camp Critter theme. So those are just some quick highlights, and encourage everyone to come out to Camp Leavenworth this weekend.
Silent disco, right?
It'll be
Silent
silent
disco.
disco, yes.
There we go.
Can I talk a little bit about traffic disruption?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So for those folks that live in the Stove Factory lofts, we're asking you to not park in and around Stove Factory lofts, because we'll need to clear that out Thursday morning. If they're still there on Thursday, we will move the cars with tow. We will not impound them, we'll just move them. But Saturday morning in particular, starting around 8 o'clock through about 11 o'clock, all up and down Esplanade, the 5K, it will be completely blocked. Traffic will be completely disrupted, and so it'll be a little troublesome to get in and out of around there. So just a little bit of heads up on that.
You said Friday morning.
Thursday morning is when we
Thursday
have to
morning.
clear everything, because that's when they start bringing in stuff to set up the stage, fencing, and that sort of thing.
Will anything
Are we able-
affect the community center? I've had people ask me that are.
You should be able to access the
participating
community center from the north, from the main
got it.
entrance, throughout the entire festival.
Through the whole thing.
But
Okay.
south end towards the river and all that will be blocked starting Thursday morning at around 8.
And the police department's done a good job of communicating that
That's
to the
what-
Stowe
yeah.
Factory Loft and
Okay,
others in the
awesome.
neighborhood. And Christine Freitchen, the run organizer, is also putting out door hangers for those along the route. So hopefully we've communicated well on this.
Good,
That's it,
good,
yeah.
exciting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have
Mr.
anything
Kramer?
else.
Commissioner Engler?
Come, have a good time. I mean, you need food, entertainment, athletic event, if you want to participate in that. You're gonna be out there running, right, Chief?
Be directing traffic, sir.
Oh, you'll be busy. No, really, it looks like it's gonna be a really good time. Each year, it seems to grow better and better. And so I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what happens. Come down and see Camp Leavenworth.
Thank you.
Cool.
Commissioner Martin?
No, it'll be a good time. So appreciate everybody's effort in making it happen, and everybody have a good rest of the week.
See you at the run,
Yeah,
right?
please come. Yes, sir.
Thank you to all the folks who have signed up to volunteer
Yeah, good job.
at Camp Leavenworth, because without the volunteers, this thing doesn't happen.
Yep, echo what Commissioner Hengler said. Are you playing? Thank you to the volunteers, thank you to our local law enforcement. I'm big on acronyms, so I would like to say CAMP, C-A-M-P, this is for the community, lots of activities, music, and lots of things to do. Come and play, the P is for play.
okay.
There we go, community activities, music, and play. Thank you all, looking forward to seeing you all this upcoming weekend at Camp Leavenworth. God bless you. I see you, Chief.